Welcome to Today in Prophecy Daily News. In 15 minutes or less, news with the Bible as the perspective. Behind the curtain, top AI CEO foresees white-collar bloodbath. Australia is looking to divide the land of Israel? What is that all about? And apparently Trump and Netanyahu, I don't know if they're getting along or not. We're getting a lot of mixed reports. We're going to look into that. EU digital identity wallet sparks privacy concerns amid rollout. And guess what? You will own nothing and be happy. Yes, that is back again. Okay, let's get rolling with this. Behind the curtain, top AI CEO foresees white-collar bloodbath. CEO of Anthropic, one of the world's most powerful creators of artificial intelligence, has a blunt, scary warning for the U.S. government and all of us. AI could wipe out half of all entry-level white-collar jobs and spike unemployment 10 to 20% in the next 1 to 5 years. Amodi told us in an interview from his San Francisco office, Amodi said AI companies and government need to stop sugarcoating what's coming, the possible mass elimination of jobs across technology, finance, law, consulting, and other white-collar professions, especially entry-level gigs. Friends, I tell you, it's even going to be worse than that. This is only going to grow. And as I look at it, you got to think through this. It makes sense with AI, the first jobs that are going to be white-collar jobs. You think of those who are working in law offices. You start looking at those who are editors for newspapers, and right on down the list, and you start going, okay, what's going to happen here? What's going to happen there? We live in interesting times. I mean, the plumber is not going to be the first person to lose their job because, quite frankly, robots do not have the ability to climb underneath a sink, take out a garbage disposal, do that type of thing yet. Be able to replace broken shingles on top of a roof, to be able to do some of the basic things regarding irrigation and digging trenches and planting trees, doing some of the work on a vehicle. Yeah, AI might be able to do some of the computer work that is necessary for a vehicle, but when it comes to some of the things, if your car breaks down on the side of the road, it's going to be a problem. Hence, though you have cars like Tesla that are changing the game on that, nevertheless, we can see the first jobs that are going to go are going to be those that are, I mean, think of someone that works for CPA. You start going down this list and you go, yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense. Okay, now check this out. This was sent to us from our good friend John Prescott over in Australia. And check out this article. As John writes, speaking of this, the article says the time is right. Laborluminary calls for Netanyahu sanctions, Palestine statehood. John Prescott, he comments on this, and he says, like a bad assembly line of countries falling into place, Australia is next. The article says Australia's top representative to the UN, James Larson, raised speculation of an imminent shift by saying in a speech on Monday night that a two-state solution was the only hope for ending the cycle of violence between Israelis and Palestinians. Labor's longest-serving foreign minister has called on the Albanese government to sanction Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu and recognize Palestinian statehood within weeks. A move, he said, could help resuscitate stalled efforts to achieve a two-state solution. France and Saudi Arabia will co-host a high-profile meeting at the UN from June 7 through 20, aimed at creating momentum for a two-state solution. Many nations, including France, will use this conference to officially recognize Palestinian statehood. Friends, this talk is only going to escalate about dividing the land. It continues and says, the Labor minister said, by far the strongest message Australia could send would be to announce at next month's critical UN high-level conference that we are immediately recognizing Palestinian statehood, not just as the final outcome of a political settlement, but as a way of kickstarting it. Recognition is ALP policy, and Penny Wong and her colleagues have been wrestling only with the timing, and the timing now is absolutely right. Folks, I want you to think through this with me for just a minute. So in the book of Daniel, Daniel chapter 11. As we enter in the time of the last days, time of Antichrist, the Bible says, beginning in verse 37, that he shall regard neither the God of his fathers, nor the desire of women, nor regard any God, for he shall exalt himself above them all. But in their place he shall honor a God of fortresses, and a God which his fathers did not know he shall honor with gold and silver, with precious stones and pleasant things. Thus he, this be Antichrist, shall act against the strongest forces with a foreign God, which he shall acknowledge, and advance its glory. And he shall cause them to rule over many, and divide the land for gain. What's divide the land for gain mean? I have many friends who say Israel will never be divided. However, when I read Daniel chapter 11, and I see that passage, he will divide the land for gain. What land is that speaking of? That is speaking of the land of Israel. And if you zero it in, it really talks about Jerusalem as being the epicenter, and divide the land for gain. What kind of gain? Political gain, offers to those who are part of the Daniel chapter 9 covenant, a covenant with many. Divide the land for gain. We're going to finally have peace. You look at this article, you see that's exactly what they're talking about here. Let's divide the land for gain. Let's bring in this peace. Let's do this. Let's do that. We live in interesting times, and keep this in mind also, that as John Prescott says, Australia is next with these countries that are entering into this bad deal, this bad assembly line, as he puts it, with all of the different countries are putting pressure on Israel right now for a two-state solution. Keep this in mind. In Genesis chapter 12, verse 3, the Bible is very clear where God says, I will bless those who bless you. I will curse him who curses you. And you think of this as dividing the land. Listen, this is God's land. And men are saying we are going to divide it up. What for? For peace and prosperity. I'm telling you, the language is incredible, especially when we see the language of the last days final empire. And then we think of Joel chapter 3, verse 2, where God says, I will bring every nation to the valley of judgment. I will judge every single nation, every single people that has divided my land. It's his land. He has given it to the people of Israel. And you look at what's happening, folks, we are living in times which lead me to believe we better look up and lift up our head because our redemption draws near. Friends, it is not a coincidence that all of these different dynamics, all of these different things are converging all at the same time. As we are watching what's going on with Russia, as we are watching what's going on with Iran, and all of the players there. We talked about digital currency. We talked about the control of the mark of the beast, everybody being ID'd, all of the different aspects coming together for the last days empire. Friends, it is not a coincidence. We need to be ready. Moving on from there, we look at this with Trump and Netanyahu regarding Iran. And I'm going to tell you, it's very hard to get the real story on exactly what's going on here. But this comes out of Newsmax, and we're seeing this from all these different news sources now. Trump warned Netanyahu not to jeopardize Iran attacks. President Donald Trump told Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu to avoid any actions that would hamper negotiations between the U.S. and Iran during a phone call last week, Axios reports. Sources, including an unidentified White House official, told the news outlet that Trump said last Thursday during a call with Netanyahu that he doesn't want anything to impede the talks, sending the message that Trump doesn't want Netanyahu to antagonize at a time when he is trying to solve problems. It continues. Israel's Channel 12 News reports that the conversation between the two world leaders was marked by sharp disagreements, but Netanyahu's office pushed back on those claims, denying that it was a tense conversation. I mean, we're looking at this. It's hard to get the real story, but we've had many people have said, hey, Israel's about ready to attack the U.S. Israel's about ready, to attack Iran, going after their nuclear sites. Don Stewart and I, we talked about that yesterday on our live stream. You can check that one out. But what will really happen? Would Israel go against Iran without the U.S. being with them? And you look at the Trump administration, it is just more negotiating. How do you negotiate with the leaders of Iran? Last week we reported, hey, Iran knows that they are lying. In fact, had Bill Federer on just a couple of weeks back talking about the roots of Islam. It's not only okay to lie, it's good to lie if it furthers your cause of what you want to do when you want to destroy a people that you are coming against. And Ayatollah said, this ain't going to happen. We're not going to enter into any deal. And you look at things where Trump in the past, in fact, I read it this morning, it was in 2018, Trump said, you cannot negotiate with Iran. Iran is, has never lost a negotiation. And here's Trump now. 7 years later, negotiating. Listen, friends, we have to call the facts for what they are. People get so upset when you start going down this path. When I do, and I say, "Hey, let's call it. Let's call it for what we actually see it," and realize you cannot negotiate with Iran. We were saying it like crazy with Obama and Biden, and they kept doing it. And now, friends, look at where we are. What is going to happen? As we have all of these different Muslim countries that actually hate each other. The only thing is they just hate Israel more. And then you have all of these Western nations like Australia now joining in with the UK and France and the rest are saying, hey, and Canada, let's just pile on Israel. They got to have a two-state solution. There got to be peace there. And let's just negotiate with all the countries that want to eliminate Israel and want to eliminate the West. I mean, look at what's happening over in the UK. Unbelievable with their Islamic invasion, but people are ignoring it. Moving on from there, All Israel News reports Israeli government approves emergency call-up of up to 450,000 IDF reservists, a record number. This has to do with Gaza and dealing with the Gaza problem. I'm telling you, Israel has to deal with their Gaza problem. It is a huge problem. Again, I would refer you back. Check out the podcast I did yesterday with Don Stewart. We got into Gaza. Israel, before Ezekiel 38 comes in fact, it was one of the questions we had. What about Ezekiel 38 coming into their land of unwalled villages and being in peace and safety? Listen, for Ezekiel 38 to be fulfilled, Gaza has to be dealt with. What's going on in areas of Judea and Samaria have to be dealt with. Israel can't dwell in peace. And also, when the attack of Ezekiel 38 comes, it is a surprise attack. Israel's totally surprised when they get attacked. That would not happen right now. So the Gaza situation has to be dealt with. And is it going to be some kind of peace deal that's going to be forced upon Israel where the Western leaders say, we will take care of you? But friends, everything is moving forward as the Bible teaches. Moving on, EU digital identity wallet sparks privacy concerns amid rollout. I'd say, yeah, no kidding. Critics warn the EU's digital wallet could lead to excessive data collection, over-identification, ending anonymity and enabling surveillance by governments and corporations. Friends, how long have we been warning about this? When we look at these things with digital ID and digital currency, this is exactly what is going to happen. And LifeSite News, moving on from their reports, Macron praises the Freemasons for their influence in euthanasia movement. You got to be kidding me. Macron's recognizing it. Hey, the Freemasons, the spiritual evil movement, hey, I want to thank them for making sure all the old people die. Huh? Imagine that. It's something spiritual that is behind calling the masses. Hey, Macron admitted it at least. It's a spiritual dynamic. Final article. Check this out from the expose. Australia. They use mass immigration to create a housing crisis, which they use to push more people into renting, and you will own nothing. Remember when, what's his name said that? You'll own nothing and be happy? Klaus Schwab, 2015. Guess what? That's still out there. It's coming back. It never went away. Everything is still progressing forward. God bless you guys. Thank you for joining me. And remember, don't lose heart. But when you see these things begin to take place, look up, lift up your head because your redemption draws near.